I did a front flip out of the door. I jumped over the driveway, ran up the stairwell so loud that it shook and nearly broke the deck that led up to the front door. All that was missing was the theme that I had. My little brother was at school at the moment, so that was not possible. Due to that, we had been waiting at this moment for the last couple of months now. It had been time to be the champion, and in the role that I'd relished in, though I've only had it a few times in my life to date. Now it was time to start the uphill climb back to bliss, to hope, and to get out of the dry dock of despair, and to get out of the gloomy knolls. It was time to make a difference in my life. I now had the money, soon to have the power, and the woman that I want to call my wife within my grasp, if I played my cards right. In this, the ball was in my court, and now it was time for not the bomb at the end of the game, but just to dive over the line with my running back and to win the game. In this, my prayers had been answered, and the only thing I had to do was to pick up the things I needed, and I was on cruise control for the rest of my life, if I wanted to. In this, I did not much care otherwise besides to help people who had helped me in this regard. That list was short and would not take too long to get done. As a matter of fact, I had already planned out what I was going to do when it came to that. But I had to do some things first, like get a new set of wheels. "Dad, do you want to help me pick out a new car?" He looked around the room. There was my mother, who was crocheting a quilt that she had been working on and off for the past 8 months. My grandmother, who was Memorex to the TV screen, and what was on, which was more election materials, which did not interest me, since I had voted absentee this year. "Where were you thinking of looking at?" "Spokane for starters," I responded. This had stirred something in my grandmother to a point that she attempted to get in on the conversation that my father and I were having at the time. This was a common tactic anymore, to be involved. So a few years earlier, she would have berated me for doing that. Now she was rude, crude, and totally unacceptable. My father realized this and cut it off by ending the conversation before she butted her way into it. "Give me a few minutes to get dressed and we'll get going," he said as he got up from his chair. To get properly dressed enough to be presentable to the public, I had to do the same thing as well, due to I looked like I had fallen off a charm bracelet due to the lack of a shower since the previous day. So I had to get back out and get my dress clothes, which I had ready since the previous week had ended. And thus I took a quick shower and got dressed. I even went military style by wearing nylons underneath my dress pants and my dress shoes, which still had the tread on them. This had taken me nearly 15 minutes to do. By now it was only 10:15, which would put us in Spokane at a little after 2 if all things worked out. It was not too long before we were in the truck and pulling out of the driveway. Now that this out of the way, it should be going someplace together and not having to worry about time constraints. The only thing we've got to worry about is mother's mental health, having to deal with grandmother all day by herself. My father just grimaced at that thought. Having to deal with that tonight would be too much. But if we had to stay in Spokane or any point between here and there, it would only get worse, if not compounded by the fact that my mother was already at her wit's end when dealing with her. "I'm going to need some booze at the end of this trip," he stated. "Would a bottle of Jim Beam do?" "No, but I need a bottle of Jack Daniels." "Consider it done." Chapter 2, Westbound and Down. We had just fueled up in the little town of Marion. The weather was getting on the nippy side for our taste. It did not help that my father had to go to the bathroom when theirs was out of order. The next place the bathroom was about 10 miles down the road. It was not that I was in a rush to get there. As a matter of fact, we had all the time in the world. Though, for my father, I think it would be just a rush to get back before my mother lost her mind. We knew if this was the case, that none of us would be getting dinner that night unless we bought it ourselves.